I haven't dug mine out in ages.
Well, he's doing what I was doing, so.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, what were you doing?
A bear down.
Oh, I
We were both in the same
We're
profession.
both in the same-
Oh, really?
He moved up in 79, I moved up in 80.
Oh,
I came from Central New Hampshire area, he came from
Nah.
north central Mass.
hey.
Yeah.
I'm already. So,
South of him.
Whereabouts in Mass?
Cape Cod.
Okay, I got a sister and family lives out in Orleans.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was raised in that town.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so. A couple of years ago, we were born and.
Yeah, good talk to you. I see you. I would think, Cape Cod is like New Jersey, what exit off? Cape Cod the same way, what exit?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Weekend, oh boy, but, yeah, so as you see on the agenda, the gentleman, we'll get that.
Yeah.
Gene back working?
Yeah.
That's gonna be the process. I looked
I see
into
you.
it.
Right.
In town.
Yeah, so if we do, and,
He helped me process.
well, as far as if we change it to,
Right at the
if we
airport.
do a rezoning,
No, well,
it's a drawn out process.
So, yeah.
Direction we're going?
And, well, we were not gonna rezone, what we were gonna do is add it to conditional uses. And
I've never figured that out.
by the planning
No.
board today,
Good luck.
but from what I
You might
understand,
try.
we'd be
Oh,
called,
there you go.
and Joel Greenwood will be here.
Yeah, Joel's
as well.
here.
Oh, and my area is, nice to meet you, Joel. But, go through conditional uses instead of actually changing the zoning. And it goes in front of us, as Joel explained to me, and then, public hearing, and then in front of the council.
And a public hearing in front of the council also.
Yes,
Right, so, yeah, so there'd be two public hearings
Yeah.
essentially.
but we're also looking not just to do it for the gym, because there was some.
Yeah, I brought up, where the bowling alley used to be, it's kind of in that same general area, which, I guess I would lean towards if we're gonna do it there, make that area, that whole section right there, additional use potential, because there's not likely a commercial business is gonna go back in there,
Yeah.
off the main street, so to speak,
Yeah, and then I had another lady come in, she hasn't followed up yet, but she lives on Sneak Root Road. And she wants to, on the same lot, she wants to put in one of the, not Amish, but the Hillview tiny barns and make it into her tax business. And it's not really, but she's way down by Route 100.
Oh, that's right in his neighborhood.
Yeah, I forget her name, but she hasn't came back in and followed up on anything. So it's one of those things where,
You're the one that, the family that moved into McGowan's whole thing?
I'm not sure.
yeah, I'm not too positive. She only came in one time, but I spoke to Al briefly about it, but she was interested, but that's not the conditional uses either.
Right.
And
That's over.
businesses, so we're gonna try to put together a list.
Yeah, I know if you had like
Keep it tax,
market, farm stand type thing,
Yeah,
you have to
yeah, I know.
do a few things, and I know the one on
Could have stayed.
Route 2 where he sells the Christmas trees across the solar farm,
Yeah.
that had to be built to, MUBEC standards,
Just significant.
because it's a commercial
Really?
It's
venture,
been an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
so,
but I feel like it's gonna be an ongoing.
They don't want to be a
thing.
lot or something that,
Trying to address those little things. It's gonna be one. In certain businesses and things like that. So,
No, I don't know.
but I feel like that's the first step.
It's the same setup.
Like a list of. Cause it's only a handful of daycares.
Well, at the time we put it together, that probably wasn't that expensive.
Exactly.
My wife
Yeah.
was- But that's why we were here to address those issues.
Yeah.
in Charleston.
Exactly, yeah.
Make decisions on that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have this building. That's kind of the blessing. Well, yeah, they got
Yeah,
a Jones building.
as far as having like one of those mini barns turned into a business, like,
It's a beautiful.
I guess.
They could probably go to building.
there's a lot of things that we have to look at, because that's in the same realm as mini houses, and that hasn't been addressed yet. Yeah, we've talked about it on and off for a number of years, but
Yeah.
right now with our rules, so to speak, through that,
See you guys.
they don't fit,
Everything around?
fit the rules.
You have some experience, Tom,
Yeah.
small houses.
Yeah.
the pad with the trailer
Right,
set,
right.
trying to put one there.
Jeez.
I didn't bring it in and put it in, I didn't do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the house was falling down, I needed a place to put that.
Yeah, I just had somebody else call in today, and asking about off Route 2, yeah.
Did I miss anything?
Main Road,
Not tonight.
putting in 2 of those on a
Did you
property
meet it?
out of the trailer.
Where'd you guys meet?
You know, I told them I'll get back to them, and all the zoning laws and
Yeah.
everything like that for the size. of
Oh,
the lot.
You'll.
Well, I don't think I have a problem being smaller, but it still needs, past electrical, plumbing, septic, the normal things that,
Every.
Right.
You guys didn't have a meeting?
You know.
as far as the size,
We did.
I guess I'm not,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't make a huge
One in
difference.
January, right? Take it, but that's it.
I don't make the rules myself, just.
But I thought you were, someone told me
Right.
back down.
And, we started looking at that with Steve Deacon,
Parking and.
5
we didn't know
years
because
ago. Mini homes and stuff,
the far end of the property.
Because,
it
it is
Side of it,
trend that's,
that, he
it's
wasn't.
coming
whether he
more
owned
and more.
Or what was going on.
Yeah.
So other than that, no.
Heating costs and
No.
maintenance costs on big old houses for one or two people,
I mean, that's just.
it gets expensive.
Yeah, he had a sacred situation.
No,
It's just like he does, he's living by himself, doesn't need a big space.
Yeah.
It's cool, and burn, like down.
Yeah.
With me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is this?
You know, some of the zones, it's like.
This is the better one.
700.
Oh, this is good.
You know, so. I guess it really depends on the size they go.
Oh, in the restaurant, oh, it's.
Try to educate people, like.
Just like mobile homes, design requirements for mobile homes.
Yep.
And don't quote me on, it, but I don't think it's like a
Additionally, yeah.
12 by 70 or 14 by 60, it makes you a square footage area, and then if it's a certain age, I can't remember off the top of my head, but, grandfathered in,
Tough, cause
but you can't take it and move it off the lot, onto another lot,
And
if it doesn't meet the criteria.
That was the question.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cause I've seen other people want to buy a mobile home reasonable and move it. I said, what size is it? They tell me it's like, 12 by 60 or 12 by 50 or something. I said, I don't think it'll pass. You better check your thing before you get into it.
Good.
So,
You still have that? Great, yes, I am, great. Yeah. You're spending money like crazy. Good. Good. Yeah. Yeah. It's on the front of the built in my opinion, to get it all done.
so where'd you say you were living?
Helmet.
Here in Pelham. That's right. You would be animal control there too?
Yeah.
Where in Palmyra? Sounds familiar.
Go to the elevator intersection, take the right,
Minimum.
go across the bridge there.
Work at home, take a meal.
Okay,
Then
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been on the road. I knew it sounded familiar. It was like.
I like it over there. It's peaceful,
You know, that's-
spread out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that get around here, some properties.
But I know that,
Yeah,
I don't know.
and things like that, part of that.
Pretty fucking. Anyway, no, a lot of the stuff.
Taken in houses
All right.
and.
You know, I know management keep clock the eye there. You know, I think that's what you do.
Go to a certain.
I like open space.
You still going
Yeah, someone's quite surprised that they asked me what I own for land. I said, it's you, my house, that.
What were you
Three,
like? You seeing this?
3 acres, 3.5 acres, something like that.
You selling your equipment? No, maybe. Really? Oh, good. You interested? No. I don't need to go on there. No, no, but I didn't.
My phone says 7. I guess we'll start meeting.
Let's go. Fun stuff.
Yeah, we'll do. Start with pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance.
America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, we have enough voting rep right now for a meeting?
I don't know.
Well, we need a vote.
We have as many as we usually have.
Anyway,
1, 2, 3, 4.
do we,
Joel? We have enough to vote?
What's your, how many members do you formally have?
7, I think. I think,
Okay, you got 5,
right,
that's tall.
uh. Do we want to address that now?
Sure.
I know he has to be sworn in.
Right, I don't know what the process really is, Russell?
Yeah, one of the gentlemen I had actually called, he had to go to mass for the weekend. And I haven't heard back from him yet, so we were gonna try to set up a Zoom for him.
Okay,
But as of right now, he's probably watching it, I don't know.
Right.
But, as of this point, it's kind of a. One of the members wanted to zoom in, I reached back out to him. But I haven't heard anything back yet. Cause we were gonna set that up. But you guys are to just keep going. Oh,
yeah, okay. So. Adoption minutes number 4. We don't have them here in front of us.
Can't vote on it, can we?
No, so I guess we'll, so we'll pass on that. No public hearings tonight, correct? And nothing on old business. We do have new business, a site plan review permit, application meeting for AE
Starting.
Okay.
Pittsfield Solar. So I guess you might as well,
Long time shine.
yeah, we'll start with you.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for being here tonight. Really appreciate your time. My name is Lucy Feeney. I'm a civil engineer with Haley Ward here tonight on behalf of AE Pittsfield Solar LLC. My client is proposing to implement a 2.12-ish acre solar array within the industrial park. For a little context on the location of the site, if you were heading south on the industrial park road, the road actually ends up taking a left, and right there used to be a old blueberry processing facility. This is proposed at the same location. So as you'll see on the site plan, we have shown the limits of the array, which stays within the same developed footprint that has been there previously. Not touching any of the wetlands that are located to the east. We're not proposing any sort of new utilities for water or sewer. There will be a new interconnection for the array itself to be able to bring it into the grid. We have shown the poles and associated equipment that are used for that. I believe that CMP does have some underground work through there, so there's a possibility that we may just be going underground with that. We are asking for a couple waivers. One of those waivers being the location of existing water and sewer. I had reached out to the water and sewer district to get that information, but we did not get that prior to this meeting or submitting the application. I actually have not heard back. So I'm not really sure where those stand. So we are asking for a waiver in regards to the location of those, but they will not be used for this development. When the building is removed, they will be abandoned, capped in place and left there. The other waiver that we are requesting is in reference to signs. There is a sign that exists on the building. We just didn't really deem that applicable for this because we're proposing to remove the building. So providing information on the existing sign that will be removed didn't seem necessary for us. So that is also being requested to be waived. And that is the last item that is being requested to be waived. Besides that, it's a very general proposal. It's a very small array compared to some of the ones you guys have probably seen in the past, especially the one by Chimbro that's in the same division. That's, yeah, really, I'd be open up to take any questions from the board. And if you guys have questions regarding either, you know, the application itself or anything on the parcel.
One of the questions I had, I think I understand. So this basically, this proposal is sale is pending on approval from us, correct?
Yeah, to a degree, they are in the process of closing, so that, yeah, we did not provide obviously a deed. We did provide a purchase and sales agreement, which is just a draft at this point. They do have a week to decide on whether or not they're going to move forward with purchasing the property, and a part of that is dependent on whether the board would approve the project or not. Obviously, like, you know, it's very important for an landowner to know that they actually can move forward with their project before they purchase something. I don't think that, you know, your decision tonight would ultimately crush the project if that is, you know, if that's, I guess, what your question is.
No, I know we've had some other projects that basically came before us and, you know, pending tentative approval, you know, would continue or not.
Right, yep.
I was just curious.
So my question is, so go back to what you discussed about utility poles.
Yep.
What did you,
So let's see, here, I'm just gonna make sure I double check this real quick. So we're actually not proposing any poles. We are proposing a new, it's called a metering switchgear, SWGR. I'm not 100% exactly what that means, but we are proposing all underground utilities, and there are.
so you're just gonna tie into to the existing power.
Yep.
Right there, but has CMP approved and you've got approval that the existing lines coming in there?
Can support that.
Yeah,
Honestly, I cannot answer that question with a confident answer, only because, I mean, I do not deal with compiling those permits. My understanding is likely that the developer, the solar company themselves have already done their due diligence and are probably already working with the PUC and CMP to be able to obtain the necessary permits that they need to be able to do that interchange.
so I guess my only thing would be is, and it didn't come to mind until right now, she brought up those poles, but there's no poles out there in the industrial park.
Right.
And those typical solar has poles lined up, you know, 4 or 5 poles.
Right, they need their number
And
of
I
poles.
guess, and I don't know if there's an old requirement for the industrial park to not have any power poles up through there.
I would just clarify, if you don't mind, that I'm gonna correct myself, and there are no poles proposed. It's all underground utilities, so they would be tying into the underground system.
But I'm just saying, if you come back and in the sense of, but not knowing how the switchgear and how the everything's gonna be lined up with CMP and what their requirements are. Again, I'm just throwing it up, or do we want poles sticking up?
Cause basically everything in that industrial park, as far as I understand, is 40+ years old at this point. You know, that was all put in on the ground when that park was built, late 70s. The new extension that went in up to, where they built the trailers and stuff, that was all done by poles.
Not from the other side, though.
Well, they starting from the industrial park in, it turned to poles.
Oh, did?
Yeah.
There is poles there?
Yes, just on the new section.
Huh?
Yeah, I never noticed.
I never, no,
Yeah,
no.
I'm pretty sure there is, because
I thought it was all on the ground.
I thought it was all on the ground all the way in
I
there,
don't think on the new section.
unless they fit it from Somerset Avenue down that way.
I know that,
I don't think.
There was
I
this-
need this-
yeah, and I wouldn't swear my life on it, but I thought there was. I remember we had some discussion on it because it was,
We've got
quite
a
costly.
computer, we can go Google Earth.
but
I think it's all,
Huh?
I think it's all underground.
Yeah.
I
Could
know
be.
it's Sonico.
Oh, it's a big deal, anybody care?
Somewhere between Somerset Ave
Well-
and Sonico.
I don't know if it's a big deal, we should care.
well, generally, and I might be wrong, Corey might understand more, but if there needs to be upgrades to power line stuff, usually the people doing the projects are responsible for that.
Definitely.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, do we want poles?
They're not proposing poles.
I
They're
know,
proposing.
yeah, think of that, part of this, I'm asking, I
Right.
guess I'm
Right,
asking,
right.
but do you guys agree? If we approve this tonight, and then all of a sudden they come back and say, you see 4 or 5 poles, and they got to run poles all the way along the corridor to get the upgrade that's necessary for the solar farm. I'm just saying, that could happen, if we don't know the answer, to
They- you know,
that, if we approve it.
In theory, they could come back and ask us if they,
Well,
We're allowed-
If we approve it,
no,
if we approve it tonight,
be approved, no poles.
Okay, approve, there you go, I like that, approve, no poles.
Then they
and
come back and
that's
act different than
it.
before.
They'd have to come back.
Are they on the site plan?
It's still proposed underground.
You guys approve what's on the site plan,
Right.
so if it's not on the site plan.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you for helping me. with that.
And usually, and just to add to that, it's usually what, I've done a lot of these in various different communities, and what you will usually do is you'll give a conditional. If you were to approve it, you'd give a conditional approval based on receiving copies of all the relevant permits, and one of the interconnection agreement to like CMP is one of the ones that usually do for solar.
I guess I've got another question that they brought up to me. Is this, solar array, was that intended purpose or can be an intended purpose for an industrial park? Yeah,
Well, I can, I was gonna have another question to top of that is that, so I was looking through there. And I should have kept the page, but I think it was page. On your application. You know, that page there, but the first section. Under section 1.8 existing conditions. The proposed solar, is located solely within the industrial district C4. And I go to the. I think that might be a typo because the industrial district, if you go to the table. I didn't see a industrial district C4, I just saw a C3. Industrial district, I saw a C4 residential, but I didn't see. A C4 industrial. So I don't know, I miss things, I miss
Well-
sometimes.
Shut down.
Because I was looking at it to make, because I remember we had this question about. One of the, I think it was the one up on the hill, when they came about. And I know we asked the question because it wasn't stated in that table. Under, approval or conditional use approvals. And I believe Catherine went to the lawyer, anybody remember any of this bringing it
a
back?
little bit. Yeah.
And she came back that it was okay. But I don't know what the official written document was, because it wasn't stated that a solar. Array field could be put into that zone that's there.
That probably brings up another line of questions. Should we actually have some rules and regulations for,
Well, that's another.
well, it's another, but it's quite relevant at this point,
Well,
you know.
I mean, that's the discussion that we've had in the sense of we've approved how many of these now. And we still haven't had any solar
Right.
array.
But essentially, all the projects that have been approved, especially all the projects that have been built, are kind of, I don't wanna say, they weren't in commercial property area.
So behind Walgreens, that was, the zone split that property in half. The front half was commercial. Highway commercial, and the back half was industrial. Snake Root was residential, and we did a conditional approval for that one.
R4 district, residential,
And then I
And I
can't
think
remember
Route 2
over behind the hospital.
yeah. Yeah, I know
Oh, Route
the
2?
original one on Route 2, so part of that would have been highway commercial also,
Exactly.
and then the back would have been R4,
I
residential,
believe so.
agricultural, whatever.
Well, I'm sure the email, I mean, I do remember that the lawyer, Catherine, researched that and came back and said that the lawyer felt that we were doing our due diligence and allowing these to take place in the zone, so. Even though it wasn't written in our table, that's what I remember. I don't know if we wanted to look into that again or not, or.
Yeah, I mean, to that point. If, I guess we all received these last Tuesday,
Yes,
and I think, in my opinion, we need a little bit more time. To research, especially with its location,
yeah,
and if we decide that, do we go through the site plan review tonight, or?
yeah.
Right now, I think I need more time
Right.
to research this.
No, because normally in the past, we would have things before us at least 2 weeks ahead of time.
Mhm.
And essentially, this was only 6 days.
Right,
Well, I did think that too, but I wasn't ready enough.
no, I think, you know.
Well, I think when I got it, I mean, a lot of questions came to my mind immediately. I'm kind of new to the board, so I don't know what the process is with solar in particular, but not solar in particular, but with this project, are we doing a non-conforming use tonight, or are we just approving waivers, or does this project fit into a commercial zone? Some of the discussion.
This is the first time you've had this on the agenda.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is technically a pre-application meeting, so this is informational, so you'll gather the information. And like I say, this is spelled out in the administration of the ordinance, so this is the perfect time just to kind of ask questions, figure out what's what. And then it will officially like go on a later agenda to potentially be discussed and have a decision. There's allowed to be a pre-application meeting for this kind of thing, so
No, thank you.
if this is the very first time that you've
Right,
actually had
up
it,
until last Tuesday when this hit, we had no prior knowledge.
yeah.
So if it's just like a fact finding, do we go through the application tonight, or?
No, well, no, I wouldn't, I mean, the idea of a pre-application is to get familiar with the project and, ask questions. And then technically, it would then be formally submitted, and then once it's formally submitted and considered complete, then it goes on your agenda as the formal piece of business, and that's when you would go through and do the, weigh it against the performance standards. And just in terms, I mean, it's never, the table of uses is never gonna list every kind of use, and it's certainly, the ordinance hasn't been updated to talk about any kind of large scale solar development, so there's no point worrying about that. Two things I thought of once I kind of looked into this is, number one is just thinking about reading the description of the industrial districts and thinking what is compatible in general, because obviously it's not going to list out every single use, but you have to think about, well, what's the purpose of the industrial districts, and then what fits in it, and what other things are related. It talks about wind energy facilities being allowed, and solar energy facilities are not that far removed.
So so we're looking at C3 industrial district.
That's where it is, yeah. And I actually think one of the major things, I think you just mentioned it, is the Chimbo one that behind there, and say half of that was on the industrial lot. Well, I think that,
But wasn't that wasn't buildable for industrial park, wasn't that land that they'd?
It's not part of the industrial park.
Right,
it doesn't matter.
It's in the industrial
It's in the same
zone.
zone, so I think that
Out-
really
out-
sets somewhat of a precedent.
Right.
If you've got you've allowed a solar development on one part of an industrial
Yeah.
zones, lands, then you're almost obliged to do it on the rest of the industrial. zone.
I would agree with you, and that's the way we looked at it years ago, it was a similar situation as the wind energy. Wind
Yeah.
energy was the new technology at the time that this was written. Solar wasn't even on the radar at the time.
Yeah.
And it's just the next thing.
One of the big problems I have is we're limited on land industrial park as it is. And with the wetland determinations, like on the other half of this project, the things that was. I don't know how I can put it nicely, but given away or traded away years ago that should have never been happened. We lost a lot of acreage that we should have had now. Just that property seems a lot better suited for a normal commercial type business. In the industrial park, a solar place is, it might be considered industrial, but after it's built, there's no job flow, extra jobs or anything else, helping the community.
I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you, but if this is what someone who has the right to develop that land chooses to do, and it's technically allowed by the regulations of the town, that's just the way it goes. People can develop the land however they like, as long as it meets the regulation and meets the standards of the site plan review in the sense. So it's a shame, it's a shame, I agree, but there's nothing in the ordinance that would stop them from doing this as well. So.
Yeah, to me with that, is if they're not, if we look through this and. And going through to the next level, our fact finding, and they're not able to meet the requirements, then that gives us reason to.
Right,
not
so I
accept it.
understand that, yeah.
Right, you know, but, and to me, I mean, looking at this, just looking at this, I'm okay with a solar farm going in there. I mean, I'm not gonna. You know, unless there's a real big reason to say, no, that it shouldn't be there. You know, and from my perspective now.
Anybody else have any?
I should just say,
Yeah.
I've started spending up, I'm just for the record and for everyone else, my name is Joel Greenwood, I'm the Executive Director at Kennebec Valley Council of Governments, and I was just asked to come and give some advice on this, because we could, planning services for the town. So, just to kind of chime in on some interpretation of the ordinance and such.
No, we welcome your, you deal with this almost on a daily basis, so you're a lot more familiar with the things than we are.
My question is, was the end user of the electricity in this? I didn't catch it in here. Is it being sold? Is it part of the net energy billing or?
But to be honest, I'm not 100% sure how that process works. My understanding from working with past developers is because typically what happens is that once it's, connected to the interchange, that energy goes right back on the grid. So anyone like myself or you could potentially be using the energy that's generated by the array similarly to the one that is done by Chimbrel in the park right now.
So people that want to build this, or are there people that want to build it, or is this being permitted for a future project? Because we have some of those already pending that been approved for a number of years, and it's basically, they went through the process to get it approved, and now they've been out trying to market it for a number of years, and nothing has happened.
No, my understanding is that they would be planning to build, I think, if I remember, on
In the
your
application,
application.
it said fall of 2024 to incomplete by 2025. It did say on that application.
I'll write on the application form, the first couple
But
of
I
pages.
mean, that's a good point. I mean, it's all pending how things go with DMP.
Well, there's other projects that have been waiting for multiple years for, final word to okay. So I find it hard to believe that in theory, this project could be up and running in a year's time, so to speak, just because of other past experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. This is the information I was provided, so I believe that, it'd be the best guess that they have on their timeline right now. If there were, some things that come up and things potentially could be delayed, but.
And I don't know, is there on different size arrays? Are there different
rules?
Different rules?
Yeah, there are. And
You mean to get on the grid with the power company?
Smaller ones can hook right into the grid, so to speak.
yeah, so, the other ones we've approved have been 5 megawatts or above, and those are part of the net energy billing program, which is now kind of, passed over, it's finished, they're, we're outside of that program now. And then, but this is much smaller, this is, a tenth that size.
Right. So that size there, in theory, they don't have to go through the rules and regulations.
I would hope they would.
Well, as far as.
To connect to
To
the
connect.
CMP, you're gonna have to have an interconnection agreement, and
Right.
that's really what I'm getting at, is you typically would have to have a contract to sell the power. And that's, we'd wanna have some assurance that they're going somewhere with the power.
Right.
Because otherwise, if you're not getting paid for it, you're not gonna build it.
Right, and that's kind of, it doesn't make any, if they don't have. A purchase agreement for the power, there's no way they're gonna build it,
That's right.
or anybody would. So does anybody else have any other thoughts?
I'll just say the one thing you should do, if this is gonna be technically the pre-application, you should, vote to, grant the waivers or otherwise that were requested on the application. the three things that were requested. Because that basically means that they won't submit information about those relevant sections because they don't think it's needed, and if you guys would agree, you've got those waivers.
Was there three?
Water and sewer.
Water, sewage, and the sign.
And the sign,
What's the water and sewer waiver for? Just because of the existing one going into the building?
Yep, so there's existing utilities going to the building. We were unable to get that information from the public utilities in Pittsfield, so we've just requested to waive that as we don't deem it necessary because we don't need to tie into it.
cap it.
But you know, if the board deemed that necessary, that's something that we can definitely
Yeah.
get if needed.
Yeah.
They're not using it.
Right, that makes sense. So, the sign and the utility, you said there was three things?
I think it was just two, just going back through the checklist right here, so you know, we talked about the utilities, and then the other one was the existing sign, which is on the building, which we'd be proposing to remove anyway, so we just, you know, to gather that information doesn't really seem necessary unless you guys would like that. But
No, that makes sense, doing away with the utility and the sign, that's, I don't think we have an issue with that. I don't.
What's the process now of decommissioning these things?
I could provide a plan if the board would like one. I myself am not super familiar with exactly how the process works, but so I guess to back up a little bit, the Maine DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, they do now require that solar arrays submit for a decommissioning plan through the DEP to ensure that there's no erosion, that we're not, creating, harmful effects onto any sort of, natural resources like wetlands. So we actually have to submit a plan, or a permit application to the DEP that addresses that decommissioning plan, and it outlines how they would come in and remove everything, that timeline, how much it costs. There's typically a bond that's, kind of sealed with that, so that if, something were to happen, that someone would be able to access that money.
Oh, you guys have to put up more money?
The owner would,
When we did the first one there, we set that up, and then after that, the state basically adopted that same type of policy.
So you mentioned the DEP permit, so you have one under,
We have not started one, and think that, the client, or I should say applicants, thought is that if they get approval through the town, then they would move forward with getting, the remainder of the permits that they need. The DEP one being part of that.
Is it a solar panel impervious?
So DEP does not classify them as impervious because they are off the ground. The only thing that the department looks at as impervious is actually the posts that are in the ground. So in the past, what we've seen is that the impervious area generated by the arrays is solely from equipment pads, like poles, the posts that go to the array itself. And then the DEP has decided that as long as the area underneath the panels is not mowed more than twice a year, that it's considered self-treating for the runoff. So yeah, this site itself, where it's such a small site and it's not a large array, we're not creating a large amount of impervious, so we're not proposing to treat anything. We're not required to by the DEP. Typically, once you get over an acre of impervious is when they like to see that you put in some sort of method to treat that runoff.
so fairly flat site. Oh,
Very flat.
there's no grading, basically.
Yeah, exactly. They'll basically just go in, demolish the building and then set up the panels right on top of what's already there. If the site had a lot more grade and frame to it, then they would sometimes have to go through and level things out a little bit because there's, maximum on slopes that work for the panels, but like you said, it's pretty flat, so it makes it a little bit easier for them. One thing that I will bring up, while I'm here, I didn't cover it in my intro, but we're actually proposing to not meet the front setback on the southern property line. So that property line has a 50-foot setback. During our original conversations with the town, we, kind of were going a bit back and forth on what exactly is required for a setback. the information that we originally had, we, truthed out a little bit and we found that we weren't heading in the right direction, but we had based our original design off of the information we were originally given. We found later that the setback from on any road, which this lot butts two roads technically, it's a corner lot, which means that's required to meet the front setback for both sides that abut the road. So we have a 50-foot setback from the property line, on both of those. We're proposing that the array on the south side falls outside of that, setback with 31 feet. That's technically not meeting the town's ordinance or setbacks, so, but we did want to, come forward and at least, since we're having this pre-application meeting tonight, see what the board's thoughts are about it. It is a, commercial area, industrial, so our thoughts were that, being a little bit closer to the road doesn't necessarily impact anything, but, it's technically, again, not meeting the town's requirement for this zone. So we just wanted to present that to you and get feedback. If, the board is not willing to move forward with a change like that, since it's not in compliance, our client is willing to, move that if necessary, but wanted to see, what you guys' thoughts are first.
Guess my biggest issue with that would be visibility on that corner, because there is, anything that cuts down potential visibility would be an issue.
So just when we started going down that path, I was thinking that typically we would have screening
Yep.
at the fence line, but in this case, we probably wouldn't want the screening to block the road, block that corner.
Yeah, honestly, didn't see anything in the ordinance that really required the array to be screened. It's not abutting a residential zone, which seems to be the key indicator for that. I don't think that any of the other developments in the industrial zone have any sort of necessarily screening. They may have a couple street trees here and there or just some landscaping, but nothing that visibly tries to shield, I guess, a use from another abutting use.
I would agree with that since, you have an industrial property
Right.
across the street that the trucking outfit.
So I guess I would just say that that setback would be a third waiver. I mean, I don't see an issue with that setback. Would about be 50 feet on that. So it would be another waiver that would be
I don't
written in.
I don't think you can technically waive the performance standard though, or a dimensional standard.
Oh,
Yeah, waivers for this is literally just about, application, materials. Not quite sure it'd work if you wanted to waive a setback, which is
so you think
online.
it would cause havoc by agreeing with that?
Yes.
Okay,
I mean,
looks like you're gonna take a roll of raise out of your wallet.
Usually a lot bigger deal than it sounds like.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So meet the 50 feet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
In this thing, you have a proposed ATV trail.
Yep.
I guess that could potentially open up another. I'm not aware of an ATV trail that's already currently there.
It looks like they're showing an existing one and they're just rerouting it around the fence.
I know snowmobile trails go through, but snowmobile and ATVs
Yeah,
are
okay, I see.
generally two different issues.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I think that's just the classification of a trail type. In general, ATVs, snowmobiles, all are allowed to use the same sort of trail system, whether or not they
No.
actually do is.
That, I don't think they are. Because there's been a number of issues when that isn't the case. Personally, I've had to deal with that in the past.
So would the board prefer that it is labeled something differently?
Well,
Is that what you're saying? It should be a snowmobile trail only?
I guess I don't know. I'd have to look into that one, but it's just one of the things that just,
I mean, is it gonna be a developed gravel trail?
Yeah, well, yeah, we can replace it with, whatever is deemed necessary for,
trail now. It's just-
I mean, I don't know,
There's
I
still-
think Delta, that's how it's been a snowmobile route.
Yeah,
right.
And there's no formal track or anything, it's just a route, snowmobile thing, I think we.
If there is a, you know,
Is it really just for them to get to the gas station?
Yeah, it's not, you know, like gravel or anything, it's literally just a route across the fields to get,
but you know,
but that's anecdotally, I don't know officially what the determination is there, it's just I think it's just a local cut over to get to the gas station, and then you can get back out into the main.
Yeah, 'cause I don't know where else it would go, it doesn't cross Somerset Ave.
Comes out by the
It comes
propane
back
tank.
down, and it goes up the side and just goes,
Yeah.
to get where you're going to.
Yeah, but that's the ATV, they just went down the road anyway. so.
Yeah, I've never seen an ATV on there, no,
No.
I don't think what's happening.
well, if you look right where the industrial park crosses railroad tracks. They do cross right there, cause they, you know, they've worn a pretty good path and through the,
But they go back, well, they could probably go down the railroad track sides, don't they?
well,
Not through the field.
the other, well.
All snowmobile trails, so.
They're not gonna block that.
They're not gonna be going down anything to do with railroad.
ATVs go down the road, eh?
I know, but. Railroad, one little quick thing, railroad is doing major, rehabilitation. This will be up to 40 to 35 miles an hour within a year.
I know it's moving faster already.
Well, they're moving 25, so you figure they're almost gonna double what they're doing now, so it's gonna wake some people up. Literally.
You know, these panels are the traditional fixed, they don't,
No, these ones are actually trackers, I believe.
Okay.
I would be able to tell off of the detail sheet, if you guys have a copy of the second sheet that came with the plan set.
No, we won't.
Yeah, so if you put such a small array, like something.
Yeah, we usually call that out in there. I believe that they're trackers, most of them are. It's a little bit easier. Yeah.
no,
Well, I would say. Silt fence.
Yeah,
Structure and fence.
I think good on that one.
Yeah, typically we have a public section. But that's something that we can include on our final copies of the plans, if that's something the board would like to see.
Something like these. What's that? Is there something you wanna see? The trappers?
it would be good to know, yeah, definitely.
The trackers tend to use the same type of mounting post.
Very similar, it's just they
Right. But
roll over,
so they'll track two different directions, you know, they'll
yeah, it'll.
lateral,
Spin on
horizontal.
that horizontal
Right.
axis.
To get the snow off them.
Yeah,
But they have, don't they have one that goes,
they do have those, yeah.
so which one's which?
But
I guess
that's
it
not,
doesn't really matter to us if we're gonna approve or disapprove. it.
no, but you need more room to have those spin.
You need more, yeah.
Yeah, because, cause your corners would, yeah. But if you're only moving two axis, it wouldn't make it,
Just all in
Right.
line. What else do we have?
Will the fence be black?
Black?
Yeah.
No, I believe it's stainless steel.
is there a reason you asked? Well, I just,
Beside the road there, you know?
Well, yeah, it gets back to the same kind of question on the screening, like, where it's industrial, you're not in a residential area. I think it's probably galvanized fence.
right, right.
We should just.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Match some of the other fences up there.
Was that?
Match some of the other fences up there.
Right.
Yeah. But, you know, some of them, in other communities, they require them to have a, you know, a green
Right,
part basically on them or a screen. Where I don't think that's necessary here.
yeah, it would definitely make a visibility difference.
So,
Yeah.
we need a motion then, huh?
Well, we would need, well, I guess. They're looking for. Two motions for sure, one with the water and one with the signage. I think we were.
You could probably do them as one.
Right, so the one as far as doing away with the setback requirements, I think that's been. We've been discussed that we would not do that at this point, at this same thing. So do you want to make that proposal?
So, would, the motion is for the waivers, or are we moving to that we are accepting this application at a preliminary standard, including the waiver for utility, water and sewer and signage?
The way I understand it, we're looking for a waiver right now just on the water, the utility and the signage, correct?
That's all we're looking for, that's all you need tonight?
Yeah, that will take, as Joel mentioned, that's technically the process for your ordinance. If you guys wanted to go through the approval process, I'd be more than happy to do that too.
I don't,
No, I mean, just
Right.
the preliminary, we don't need to approve as a preliminary site.
No, this is just informational, you just need to approve any request for waivers at this stage.
and which doesn't mean we're approving everything, at this point, we need a little bit more time to look at things and get a little bit more information.
So I would motion that we waive the sewer and water requirements and the signage requirement.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? If not, all in favor? That passes.
Just for my own clarification, so the package that we have provided to United is the same package that we would submit for our final. We have discussed obviously some changes here that we would like to reflect in the site plan, for the site plans themselves. That you guys would eventually sign if you deem to approve the project, but does the board feel it necessary to have, I guess, additional copies of those permits applications? Those will likely not change. Unless that C4 mentioned in regards to the industrial zone that you had mentioned, if it's actually supposed to be C3, we could provide a revised full package of these, or if you guys wanted, but I don't see any changes happening to that package itself besides the plans. So if the board was willing to, I know Joel probably could confirm that we need to submit 14 additional copies if our.
No, nothing's gonna change.
Besides the plans.
Yeah, if the plans are what's gonna change, and that's what you need new copies of, everything else.
Okay.
If you're comfortable with it being reflective of what you wanna submit.
Yep.
You're all good.
Okay, so you guys would be good with that.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Stick it back in that envelope.
I did when I left home, it took me a couple. Need that third hand. Next item, 7B. Resident Bill Barnett of 354 Stinson Ave would like to have a gym with a maximum of 3,200 square feet, small business added to a residential district. 3 conditional uses. Everybody on the board familiar with what we've been, talked about some of the past?
So I'm not exactly sure what was talked about in the past with all the details to it. But I have talked with Joel about it and everything is being expected for the meeting. And if you guys are okay with it, we'd like to move forward and add other additional home occupations as well, not just the gym. And then we still have to put together a list of them
Add them to what? Add them
to
to
the residential districts.
the zoning.
Yeah,
Okay.
conditional uses, yes.
Okay.
And if we add a list, does that need to have a public hearing to?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
How often do we need to upgrade that as things change?
Well,
Annually?
that's why we wanna try to add more than less for things that are going forward, such as the flower shop. Like I mentioned, there's a lady that was interested in doing taxes from home. Putting in one of the Hillview mini barns. And then I'm sure there's still another little bit of a handful of ones. So instead of just doing it for one,
Right.
and going through the process.
You know,
Do it for
you
multiple.
know, adding that hill, a little separate building, to do something. I think it's a little bit more into than just a home business because you're adding. I don't wanna say it, I don't wanna make it sound, but a non-conforming building at this point. Where it's not that building that need to follow the MUBEC laws.
Well, there's a whole kettle of fish there, as if it's intended to be a accessory dwelling unit, then the new state law is allowing you to put the accessory dwelling units in a lot more places than it used to.
Right.
If it's planned to be residential in use. Although if it's just gonna be commercial use, then yeah, that's something technically different, yeah.
Because I know there was a building built on Route 2 as a commercial building that sell Christmas trees for a few weeks a year, and that had to be follow MUBEC, rules, which, makes quite a difference.
Yeah, any structure that's, obviously it needs to meet all the codes regardless of its use and its permitting for land use, yeah.
Right.
But this is, I mean, it's not good practice to just amend the ordinance to satisfy one particular application. But if an application, or if something's brought up where it seems sensible that there might be consideration of, looking at what's allowed in certain zones, then the best thing to do is, like, say, look at it holistically, look at all the different areas and think where based on, trends and like I say, several different ideas about what might the town want to consider changing to kind of help, encourage these things that would be compatible uses.
Right. Because most home businesses that go into part of a home or in addition to a home or something along that line that, that's already conforming to
Yeah,
the building codes. I guess, if possible, if that person's really thinking about going that way with a building like that, we had a little bit more information on, how it built, structure, and things of that sort, and the size, that would give us a little bit of direction.
I thought we already discussed this in the sense of that we were asking I'm just confused here in the sense of this, and are we being asked, are we gonna rezone this residential, these two lots?
That's been discussed, but
Is the town just proceeding to do that
No.
on their own?
not at this point. That's why we're looking at, at not changing the zoning, but doing conditional use. Correct.
correct. And really, it should be separated out. This is not, I mean, I don't know if there's a formal application in for a certain thing, for that particular proposal, but this is really separated. Like I say, we don't want to necessarily think about changing the ordinance just because of one particular application.
Yeah, I thought we made that decision
Right.
a year, a long time.
But it's a larger discussion about, well, what conditional uses should be allowed in what zones. Large, on a whole holistic basis, not just that one particular spot.
But I thought the decision on this specific residence, that we were looking for, information from him or her for conditional use on what exactly to go through the conditional use application. And we hadn't even seen that yet. So that's what I remember from that.
And from my understanding, after speaking with Joel.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I'm the code.
He's the new code enforcement officer.
Okay.
Oh, I see. You
Your-
go back to us.
Your package had a business card on it,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yes, yes. I think I met you last time.
No, he
No,
wasn't
I
here.
wasn't here. in February.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you're the new code enforcement.
Yes, yes. Not a problem whatsoever.
You feel better now?
I just.
So,
So my recollection was we talked about changing the zoning, but we never moved forward with anything. That's where
Well,
it.
so we didn't have all the information we needed, one of the things we discussed was, where the properties, I think there was, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a couple of properties joined together, correct?
Correct.
And
The
so one,
last time we were here, which is almost a year ago.
Right.
Was we were supposed to have a public hearing about the property. We had moved forward to the point of a public hearing
Yeah.
about rezoning. But then there was two other properties that were being used commercially down the street. That you guys were like, well, let's just rezone the whole street, like that whole rest of the street. So we're gonna do a hearing for that. For those other properties. And then there was also the truck garage as well.
right,
That was trying to do it. But I had emailed and called and all this stuff, and then the public hearing just kept not getting scheduled. I don't know.
and unfortunately. Us sitting here behind the desk, were in the dark as much as you were.
Sure. So-
Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff we don't see until it's dropped in our lap and then, here, you make a decision, but which,
Because end of the last meeting, it was said that to rezone, we were gonna have to do a planning board public hearing, which was supposed to be at
Right.
least 30 days away for public notice. And then I was gonna have to go through a city council public
Right.
hearing after that, and then submit site plans to come back to the planning board.
right,
Which I actually started the whole site plan process and everything, because back a year ago, I thought.
How come we never saw it then?
What's that?
How come we never saw it?
Cause he got caught in changing of the guard, I mean, things just didn't get
Yeah,
followed through.
there's a lot of
You
changes.
talk to-
We have a full-time code enforcement now, so yeah, that's part of it.
Oh, I.
No, I started the process, but then like, actually, he was going through the same engineer I was, the guy that was trying to do the.
towing operation.
The towing operation,
Yeah,
but like everything just got shut down on both of us and like, so. I'm paying an engineer to do all this work and then like just, everything was just at a standstill on this side, so that's why when I was talking about these guys, they were proposing to change the ordinance.
Right,
For conditional use, at least to get things going.
Right.
And then whatever you guys want to do about going later.
well, it's one thing we were asking questions too, because, that's not our expertise, so to speak, and I think even Joel was away for a period of time.
Yeah, I mean, there's two, I mean, if there's a specific, it's quite right, and I remember that, there's two ways that we can look at this, it's either specifically trying to rezone that particular area, because it's not compatible, or you look at, like more fundamentally what's allowed in as conditional uses in different areas, two ways to achieve hopefully the same thing for all these people.
How long did it take to rezone?
It's rezoning and or changing the ordinance, it's basically gonna be the same timeline, because you have to go through the statutory amount to have public hearings, and then the town council have to approve it. It's kind of the same thing, whether it's a rezone or a change in your list of conditional uses.
But the change in the ordinance will affect the whole town instead of just this little piece of the zone.
Exactly, I mean, ones are not, looking at the conditional uses might be an opportunity to look at things all over the place. The very specific change in that geographical spot of zoning is obviously just specific to that, specific area that you're asking for the rezoning.
I mean, is it something we can do to expedite, because these folks been waiting.
Yeah, they've been
a year
waiting too long.
More,
Yeah, it's been more than a year.
yeah.
Actually, our first application got lost.
Because I think there is a formal application that you guys probably submitted to rezone, right, with a request to rezone?
Yeah, it's when Catherine was.
Right,
Here, yeah.
so, I mean, if that's what they're asking to do, then the town's obliged to kind of follow that through, I guess. To consider it on its merits that they're asking for a rezone of that land.
Well, I'm wondering if, in a way, the rezone that, not just that lot, but there's 2 or 3 lots there, like where the bowling alley used to be.
Yeah,
It just didn't make sense the way it was zoned at this point,
yeah, you got the trailer, the storage place.
is, if we wanna do a conditional use, that might take a little bit of time to go through all the, different
That's true,
type
that would
of
probably
business
take longer in
and stuff.
terms of determining conditional
Right.
uses that would affect the whole zones all across town, so that would be, probably take more time in terms of discussions, so.
So, yeah,
The option would be consider a rezoning of that
Right.
particular spot.
That,
But on the other hand, you've got other proposals that this would take care of, so we
Correct,
might be helping out 4 or 5 people instead of one.
correct.
I could do both concurrently.
Well, cause
You
technically,
mean right on that corner? You help, there's more than.
no, other places in town.
Yeah, for example, like somebody was interested in the flower shop out here, kind of behind the Chinese restaurant. And the zone line is like right there.
What it is, right here, so you got Chinese, you got the old. Kwanzaa hut, so say Montgomery Ward, but all depends
I'm
how
still
old.
confused, so is he coming in for a rezoning and he's implementing a rezoning for his area? Or are we as a board going to be looking at rezoning areas within the town of the municipality of Pittsfield?
For conditional use.
Conditional uses, we were only looking at rezoning his section, so to speak, but if we do the other way, it's conditional uses throughout the whole town.
That won't change any boundaries on the map, it will just change what potentially might be allowed in the existing zones. The other things, it literally changes the boundary of the zones
Thanks.
to incorporate their property.
Okay.
There's only two kind of options.
So
We need
would
it.
you be willing to go forward with, if we put together the list of conditional uses?
But I thought he's coming,
I think we should address their issue,
Okay,
period. Because they've been waiting a long time, they
Yes.
started the process, they're invested in it. And it's just got lost.
yeah,
And I thought you guys just gave up on us. And you're not doing anything. That's how much. You should have given up.
At one point, I had come in and inquired about it, and I was told that the process was being held up because they couldn't get a hold of one of the landowners on the other side of us.
For just us.
They didn't want to flip for just us.
So, and that makes sense to me, but they want.
So if you're gonna flip from our property all the way down to the end of the street, which is being used commercially, but
I don't think what we were looking at, I think was. I don't think it was going all the way down the street, I think it was coming down to the end of your property,
Right, into the bowling alleys.
And into that-
That was actually, that's all residential.
right, like an L-shaped section there, that, it just made sense that. That wasn't where the bowling alley was, probably more likely would not be a commercial business. Again, be more better chance for residential.
so I agree there that. I think that you should come, if I'm hearing this right, understand this right, you're gonna come with a zoning application. To change the zoning and you're gonna fill out that application and bring that before for us to review.
okay,
What's the difference?
To the zone, for
Yeah,
the zoning application.
so,
It's not that process.
yes, yeah, so the zoning and.
So this wants a non-conforming use.
And we were gonna add that, and after I spoke with Joel the other day. To a list of other things, like Joel said, don't just do it for one. If you're gonna do it and you're gonna go forward with it, do it
I think
for,
we owe these people an expedited process.
no, and I agree with you 100%, I wasn't here, I didn't know about I didn't even know about the other businesses that were looking to move
No,
forward.
and I was there and I didn't know about it either.
Oh, see, so.
But the
Whatever's
public,
gonna,
if we do a change in. For the zone, we have to have a public hearing, correct?
Have to have a public hearing regardless.
Right.
If you're gonna change anything in the ordinance or anything in the zones. you have to
So
have public hearings,
how much notice do they have to have on the public hearing? Is it 30 days?
30 days.
So in theory, hear me out. So if we set up a public hearing in 30 days. And we approve it. At that point, it has to go to the town council too?
The town council are definitely the ones that have to make the final approval. I'm not sure off the top of the head if that means you have to have 2 public hearings, one for the planning board, one for the town council. You definitely have to have one. It would, I'd have to check what the.
Right.
I haven't looked into the specifics of the zoning.
I think they need one as well, so.
Yeah,
I thought in the past, we've had to have multiple, we've had public hearings. That nobody's shown here, nobody's shown there, but it's formality that has to be done.
oh, yeah, I'd have to.
But I-
Quite sure,
but
but
they-
if they've got an active application, then we need to, that should be the one that should be.
But unfortunately, if I remember right, we have our public hearing. Get sent to the council if it gets approved. And then they have to announce it 30 days in advance also, so it's,
That's the process I was told.
right, okay, so.
Yeah, I mean.
I'm just trying to think in my mind if there's some way to shorten things, but probably not legally.
Yes,
So we're advising him that he needs to come up with the zoning application and get that in. That's how we're moving forward, correct?
Did they already do one though?
I did a year ago.
And they said it was lost. I
Right,
don't.
I know, we're not blaming you.
No, I understand.
Update it and bring it in and get it on the agenda and
Can,
is that what we're?
Well, yeah, I think so, and what, I'm just trying to think, is it, if he brings it in, do we have to approve it, or can you set, or can we approve conditional his permit comes in, so we can get that notice sent out for the public hearing, just so it doesn't
Take more time.
take more time.
Absolutely, I can look into that, I'm not 100% positive before I
Right.
say yes or no on that, I definitely want
Right.
to.
So that, my thought was just, if we could give a conditional vote of approval pending his application comes in, you know, in a short period of time, so you can get it done.
Yep.
So is that 2 months?
Well, I'm wondering,
If you brought it in tomorrow, when could we have another meeting?
technically, we can have, well,
We could have.
it has to
a
be,
special meeting.
we could have a special meeting, but it has to be noticed, it has to be in notice for 30 days, right? First,
From what my understanding.
right, and that's kind of what I'm thinking, so,
30 days for the,
notice,
okay, for the public,
yeah, for the public hearing,
right, so we could have a special meeting.
Yeah.
Get that.
yes, I
moving
guess.
forward, Then, so it's not 2 months rather than.
Right, so I guess in theory, if you had the stuff done in a matter of just a couple, 3 days,
Sure.
we could have a special meeting, basically come in, have a meeting, approve that, and then move forward. So,
And I'll get them the application
Right.
tomorrow.
because we've had special meetings before.
You still got a copy of the one you sent in, right?
I should have it in my file
Right.
somewhere, but like, just in case, I'll
Right.
just have another one, I'll just crank it out real quick and.
But the only thing we have to make sure is 5 of us are here to vote it, or, you know,
Yeah, the next member.
yeah, so I think we'll hit that on, just on discussion items or whatever next.
Is it the same thing with the town council? Can they do the same thing?
If they want to, probably. I
Possibly.
would think so.
I would think so.
It's been 25 years since I was on, I don't remember. Is there anything else you wanna touch on, or?
No, well, if it was gonna be a conditional use thing, there was a typo in here about square footage, but if we're going through the other process, that doesn't matter.
Right.
It's 3600 square feet, 30.
Okay.
So independent of their proposal, are we gonna continue with the conditional use?
I think we
Expansion.
still should, absolutely, especially with times changing, we're trying to better the
So,
town.
Right.
so like Joel said, can we do it simultaneously? Can we
I don't see
get them
why
both
not.
moving?
Yeah, I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah, if we could get a list of, cause you said you're putting a list together of
Correct,
potential
yes.
type of businesses and things, and I guess if anybody has something on their mind,
Feel free, you can email it in
Right.
and, we can put that all together and then bring that as a separate
right,
process. I think it would be great for the town.
right, cause right now. The other people that have been talking with you are in the process of doing something, but not to the point where they've been,
Exactly, and I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know all the details and I didn't know about the trucking company and all that
right.
as well, which you.
Yeah, well, that towing company, I think that's gone by the wayside, I think they, something else changed possibly,
Yeah, they set up in a different town.
right? Like, part of it was, I think, it wasn't their property, and there was a little bit,
Yeah.
we asked for some. I think the statement or something from the owner of the property, and that wasn't coming,
Okay.
so I think,
It raised a question that never got answered.
right, so. So I, don't feel bad that's gone, it was.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just-
no, I totally understand, so. We'll work on both of these, things and get them moving forward.
So far, you're not disappointed you took a new job?
Not at all yet, not at all.
Oh, yeah.
How long you been on board?
About,
6 weeks?
no,
First of the year?
not even, I
No.
wanna say,
Cause you.
Well, it's been a long time. You can't remember, that's good.
yeah,
Excellent.
yeah,
You're enjoying it, all right,
I am indeed.
good.
So
So how do we move forward?
well, I guess,
Need a motion?
no, I think right now, if I understand, he'll get paperwork into him, and then we can call us for a special call for a special meeting.
So to call for the public hearing, we have to have our meeting first?
Right, approve his, and then they'll send it out for.
Okay.
You know, I think that's the quickest we can do for following the rules.
Okay.
Does that sound satisfactory?
Yep. Thank you.
I'm sorry you guys had to wait so long for this, so.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I knew the process was slow, but I was just. Oh. You know. So, it is what it is.
But from the government, where it help.
So, no more questions on this project right now, for everybody's okay? I guess we're heading, going the right direction.
Okay.
Appreciate your patience. We'll try to,
It's not going fast enough. Oh,
Right?
yeah, don't send me an email, because I only check once or twice a week, I do.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Well, we're not at that point yet.
Motion. Nobody seconded it.
There's no second, yeah.
All right.
Okay, so number 8, discussion items. I guess I'll bring up the potential new board member.
Hi, everybody.
Hey,
I'll say it again. My name is Nick Arrow. I'm the World Language Department Head at MCI. I'm originally from Massachusetts. I moved up here in 2020 and bought a house in town, so like I'm here. And I'm just very interested in like how this town can be better, frankly. And I've always been interested in city development, town development. And I saw that there was a vacancy on the website, so I thought I would just, put my name out there and see if I can do something about it. So here I am. And I would very much like to be on the board, given that I can get an application. If that's the case, I can fill it out, get it back to you quickly. And then.
I think generally that's been done through the town office, and if I remember correctly, basically the town manager usually, swears in the new member. I don't know. Excuse me?
Council appoints.
Okay.
Board members.
Okay,
So application you sent to me, we put it on upcoming council agenda for
Okay.
that consideration.
okay.
Are there members that are here tonight?
Simone,
Is she still on the board?
What's the question?
Question?
it's been put out there trying to get hold of her, but
Okay.
Who else?
I've made calls.
is there anybody else?
There's the other guy that lives over on 100.
Yeah, I can't think of his name off the top of my head right now. He
I
was.
want to say Fiore, but it's something different.
Okay, yeah,
Walter, I believe. Is that it, Walter? I have the
He
list
lives
up in
over
my
on the corner of
office.
Dogtown Road.
okay, yeah, because he came to one meeting or something.
1 or 2.
Right. So yeah,
last year,
This year. This year,
oh, the one in February?
January, February, I believe.
yeah.
Who is, so isn't this the only second one this year?
Third?
Well, this is the third one?
Yep.
Oh,
You were hibernating.
I guess I was. You did?
What else?
Any other discussion on anything else?
Okay, I know you have an interest in architecture. Do you have a background or?
I mean, like, not a formal background. I mean, I've been drawing forever, taking tons of drawing classes. I have lots of hobby sketches. I minored in architectural history, so I have an artistic understanding of architecture, a cultural understanding of architecture. I don't have the engineering at all.
So you don't have the knowledge of building codes and plans, I think that's all
I
right.
do not, but
Okay,
I can learn things very
Yeah,
quickly.
not a problem, we don't specifically, we each have our own, pluses and minuses, but
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of my relationship with architecture. I love it, fascinated by it, but I never really
correct.
got into it.
Anybody else have anything to discuss?
Yeah, I'd like to understand what precedence is and how a committee like this can ever do anything. If every time we do one thing, it's a precedent. I thought our doctrine was that we were to look at individual projects and make decisions on individual projects. And how does how do we avoid precedents and still be able to do that? It drives me crazy, because this isn't the first board I've run into it with. And it just doesn't seem like it fits the charter.
So normally what comes before us are things that don't fit the normal applications, correct?
Well, no, I mean, you guys are gonna review the applications that go to your BAM's review, and it's just, all I was saying is that if you approve the solar development in the industrial zone, then it'd be a pretty hard thing to argue not to approve an industrial development in the industrial zone again,
And I guess my argument would be at that point was, if we knew that when we were approving that project, and we were concerned, we might not have approved that project. My opinion would have been, if what I'm doing there is gonna put another piece of property in an area in an unfavorable position, why would I want to approve that? If we have to think about it at that depth, how do we ever get anything done?
Well, I mean, everyone's free to make an argument about the pros and cons of.
But
using
that's
it.
not how it gets presented when we make that argument. They tell us, a lawyer say, you're setting precedents. You can't argue that. They tell us up
One of the
front.
lawyers said we're setting precedents on any project.
We've gone into that. We've gone into it.
I've used the word precedents with our
Yes, you
solar.
have. You use it all.
So with our solar arrays, but that's just basically, because I thought that review that was taking place with the solar farms before I got on the board, that maybe that it did need to have a lawyer look at that because it wasn't laid out and it said in our table there that it was an accepted use. That was basically where I was with that, to confirm that.
That would seem to be what we're supposed to be doing, looking at a project and deciding whether that's an acceptable use on that location.
Absolutely, I'm not saying it's a non-starter to not consider the merits of obviously, because one end of an industrial zone is a very different area than the other end, and if there's a good argument to say that it's well, I mean, especially because the use isn't specified, so that's where this board is gonna make a determination. And if there's an argument to be said that there's specific reasons why in this location it might not be, then that's, feel free to make that argument. I'm just saying, if you said you're allowing solar development in the industrial zone over there, and and then you deny it somewhere else, then
What will
someone might not be.
what will that open us up to? Potentially.
I mean, anyone can appeal any decision, but some people might feel they have a better chance of appealing that decision because you've approved a solar development in the same zone, based on exactly the same table of uses and ordinance that. Like I say, I'm not saying it's perfect, but that's just something that was pointed out, that if there's an industrial zone's already a solar development, and that's something strongly to be considered.
To his point, I mean, industrial zone, but one is behind, the Rite Aid or the Rennie's now.
Oh, yeah.
And the other one is right front and center in our industrial park. In the industrial zone, so there should be.
I'm not sure, I mean, I'm not shutting anything down, but I'm just saying, I mean,
Right.
if you can make the
It's worth a
argument.
discussion, it is, yeah, it is, but can a board member say no?
At this point,
I'd say yes to the no.
At this point, because it's not specified specifically in any list of uses for this, but that this board can make any argument it wants and take a vote whether that's allowed as a use before you even get into looking at the site plan, because if you're not allowed it as use, you're not going to accept the application for the site plan. So.
I guess that's what my
Yeah,
head
no,
was
discuss
tonight,
that.
with knowing if we were gonna do if we were gonna accept this. I was missing what you said, Joel, about informational and in terms of moving forward.
My big issue is we're short on potential project sites in the industrial park as it is.
Absolutely.
It's a shame to tear down a perfectly good building that's only, geez, I don't remember now, 4, 5, 6 years old.
If that.
Yeah, but that's not for us to make.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
but essentially that whole lot there becomes, not suitable or not able to use for anybody else to come in, build
And
another building.
I would agree with Joe, if our board, as a board member, I think we talk things through very reasonably. I mean, I haven't been in here where, since I've been doing it for, what, 3 years or 4 years now, that any of the board members have been outrageous about, I need this to happen. This is how it's gonna be, or da. I think we've been able to talk through everything and make a reasonable decision as a board. And if someone felt strongly and to some degree that maybe this solar farm shouldn't be put down, I think the rest of us would look at it and talk through it and make that decision, you know? I mean, Tom, the one thing I guess I'd bring up about, I mean, is the town gonna get more taxes out of the solar farm versus the industrial? You know, is that something that I don't think we should be looking at that, but. You know, but is it something we need to look at, think about?
I think that's reasonable to look at.
It is, you do, okay.
Well, we've
That
got
generates taxes.
2 projects right now that are been on multiple requests for reauthorization that aren't getting done, the 2 solar projects, it's just
Oh.
like right here and now.
So you know that those still haven't got done to this date?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, you know,
So do we need a third one, and do we need it, if we're gonna have a third one, do we need it in the industrial park?
Okay, good,
Sitting
I
there.
like this discussion, that's good, this is good, I,
yeah,
you know,
granted, it's not exactly apple to apple, but it's still in the same venue. You know, because this is a smaller one than the other 2
oh,
projects.
I
But,
think
but,
any solar field is in the same venue, you know, I mean. To me, it comes under if we could call it a solar field and solar array field, then I think that is apples to apples, in my opinion.
but I think what's happened across the state and probably across the nation is this is all moved faster and, faster in some aspects and dead slow in other aspects than anybody thought was gonna happen this quick, you know, there's projects all over the place that are sitting, you know, not completed or not started projects because, you know, they're either trying to sell the project or they can't get materials and, you know, there's a number of different things.
Or they just decided to not continue with it.
Right.
I mean, CMP on one of those could have come back and said, you gotta give me $500,000 or $1 million to upgrade the lines all the way to get there. I mean, I know that happens on some of these.
Yes, I
And
know
and we may not hear about that, you know, the reason.
that is a fact on one project that didn't go through.
But one of those 2?
No, a different one.
Yeah.
I will say for good or ill, that your decision has to be essentially an interpretation of the town's ordinance.
Right.
You can't just,
You can't say, I don't want it because I don't like to look at
And
it.
because it's grey area, because it's not specified in there,
Right.
there's wiggle room for argument and, you know, opinion and decision, but.
So
That's exactly what it is.
essentially, where the way it's written right now, we can say that wasn't our intended purpose for that area of the industrial park.
That's fair.
And legally not, you know, not be open for problems as much as if we had one across the street and then we said, well, you can't put that one outside, you know.
But like Joel said, they still appeal.
Right.
Or challenge it,
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, they did literally say that if they don't get approval for this, then maybe the whole thing, because they haven't even bought the land yet, so.
Right.
But I don't know if that's, should be.
Because essentially, you know, what we waived tonight, you know, in reality didn't mean a lot. Yeah.
Oh, I agree with that.
The cap in the water and sewer,
Right.
it can get
That's,
uncapped and
yeah,
reconnected.
you're literally waiving the information that they're supposed to present to you, you're not waiving anything.
Right.
Yeah. I agree with that. That's why I was confused about the waiver.
Right. Yeah, we were only wavering, you know, they didn't give us technically the information we would normally need, but that wasn't a concern.
Well, have we answered or helped in the discussion of what your discussion point is in the sense of
Of what precedent means and how it applies,
president means
and how it
and how
affects
it's
how we
forward.
operate. I don't know that I have a clear picture right at the moment, to be honest with you. I really don't. It's a tough issue, and I know it is. But every time we do something, we shouldn't be affecting another project on the road. We should be able to look at that one separately also, not just solar, any of them. Just like this guy with the gym. we got wrapped up in all these different pieces of property and we were worried about something. And the word precedent come up on that issue too.
It did?
Yep. Just like now, as a board, we apply that to what we do.
I mean, maybe it's not as strict as a legal precedent, like you say, maybe it's just something about trying to project consistency of decisions, I don't know. Say I'm not allowed, I don't get paid that much, so.
But thank you for your input. I do appreciate that. Things like that. I know the rest of us do too.
One of the
I guess I can add to that. I mean, in the sense of some of our site reviews that we have had, or some site applications that we have had in the past. There are some that are much more detailed and other ones that aren't as detailed. And we really approve, and I can't name any examples, like, I guess one example would be that. Not necessarily the application for the gun range out there, but the application for his storage shed. When he came, that one does ring a bell that he didn't, he was. Oh, help me if I'm wrong, but I know it was sketches and the sense of things and there was no actual erosion control plan, no, in the sense of letter associated with traffic or noise. I mean, some of this.
The stormwater calculations.
Right, stormwater calculations was one on that one,
But he
yeah,
said he could do it.
right, or he did put, maybe he put a paragraph together with something. Did he ever build that? I haven't.
Yes.
He hasn't built.
I don't know, did he sell
Okay, firing range, but I think the.
Oh, no,
the firing range? Not the fire,
Storage.
Storage units is all.
Yeah.
the firing range is for, I don't know, want to say it's been all done because, but there has been shooting there.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, you can hear it?
Yeah. You know,
Don't forget that my insurance too, so you may be very personal.
but, so but, it's not like it's machine gun fire anyways, it's at this point anyways. So,
Yeah.
and I'm probably, in theory, if the shooting is from where, the shooting range is not another neighbor, I'm probably, my residence is 3/4 of a mile away, give or take. If I'm in the house, I might, if I really listen to something, I can hear it, but if outside you hear it better, but it's not like it shadows you or something along that line, but potentially, I guess if you're relatively close, it might be more. I haven't had no-
It is, and it is a little more, but it's not no big deal.
Right.
People shoot all around.
From November, or duck season is actually worse along the river.
You got a point on the quality of the applications.
Right.
Maybe
They're not equal.
quantity, maybe the quantity of the application, and I guess it's both quantity and quality.
Well, I haven't been on very long, and we haven't been in a very busy section, so I don't know if I've really grasped all the process. I mean, that's what we're doing, but I do get wrapped up in this.
But, every project doesn't need to be like this,
No,
because this isn't cheap. Yeah,
No, it doesn't have to be a.
Right.
I understand,
Right.
you can follow through the steps that we have, right?
but if you can, in theory, you can sketch out a project, and if you do a decent job, you're not using crayon or something, you probably come out okay. If you understand,
Up to us to interpret it.
you don't have to
And
stay.
it helps them out.
So if you have to worry, you don't have to stay.
I feel rude to get up and walk away sometimes.
There's something else I think we ought to do is maybe meet once every 2 months or so, because we went for a spell without meeting at all, didn't we?
right,
I know there's been some turnover here, just so we can discuss stuff. like
yeah,
this.
and I think that was part of the issue, that he was busy trying to do 2 or 3 different things, which I understand.
Right, and I think,
Uh,
yeah.
So,
But they found the other
no, the
code enforcement.
the part-time code enforcement officer,
Not Russell,
no,
so different one.
Right.
Correct.
So it's been.
I'm behind, Russell, I'm way behind, I'm sorry.
So in theory, I guess you could take that, if we don't have anything on the agenda for a month or two, we probably could still have
Right.
a meeting just to, because
Absolutely,
there's always something to discuss probably.
absolutely.
And there's one issue that I've had for quite a long time that, it's like on something like this, I don't know when stuff came to town. But, I always thought that we should have stuff a little bit earlier.
More the merrier.
And I'm not stating my position as chair, but, I thought in the past, chair knew about stuff coming a little bit sooner. and Walter did too, because
Yeah.
he contacted me, and I didn't know what he was talking about, because, I hadn't,
Yeah,
I wasn't home,
And I was surprised that he
Yeah.
hadn't at least had a heads up.
yeah.
and I'm not saying I
guess this
need,
was something Al was working
Right.
on prior, and they kind of hit us
Right.
with it.
and I talked to Al, that about a year ago, said, I don't need to know all the details, but if I have a little heads up on what stuff is
absolutely.
coming, it makes things a little easier, so if somebody asks me questions, I'm not out in the blue.
I totally understand.
Right.
Absolutely.
Anybody else have anything else?
So I have a thing going on near my house that I don't know how widespread it is, but, and I don't know where to go with this, but, I looked at the utility pole in front of my house and the ground wire's been cut, and then I walked down the street and saw all of them have been cut. And I don't know if this is all over town or just nearby my house, but, and I'm no electrician, but
The copper ground wire coming down the pole, not the guy wire,
correct.
okay,
Yeah, so the ground stake is
Right.
in the ground, but it's not connected to anything. And you can see, about 6 feet up where somebody took bolt cutters and cut that cable. And like I said, it's
Right.
dozens of poles.
so what, I'm not an electrician per se, but basically that can cause some stray voltage issues and other things.
Right, so I don't know a whole lot about it, but I did look it up on the internet and it says you can have surges, it can cause a fire.
Right,
So it's an issue for me. And, I have no idea why anybody would cut that, Like, obviously, it's not gonna be CMP cutting that. I don't know if it's vandalism or.
I've heard of people doing this in other states, getting it for the copper.
well, the wire's still there.
So on my pole, all the wire's still there, it's all just curled up. They didn't take it, so it wasn't thieves.
Or not good thieves anyways. Well, or smart thieves, put it that way.
But, so, and it's like I said, I don't know if it's code enforcement or
Yeah,
public works or.
I'm not sure. I'll touch
police
base
or-
with Donnie and the police chief about that and see what's going on and reach out to CMP.
Yeah,
And see what is going on with that, 'cause that's the first I've heard about it.
so I just noticed it this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But,
Well, things if it was cut and nothing changed, they can actually come back together and splice it there, but
So on other poles, it is missing or parts of it are missing, so
okay,
it's gonna be different each pole.
Yeah.
And some of them, the clamp that actually
right, clamps,
connects to the ground rod is gone. And, those are typically copper.
copper and brass, that's. Yep,
But, so that's just a personal
right,
problem
I'll
I'm
look
trying to get
into
to the bottom of.
Absolutely.
right, because it could cause major other problems. Because essentially, well, one of the things that, so if you do have lightning strikes and things of that sort,
I don't wanna fry my equipment.
it'll follow the line easier than going into a ground. It'll test your grounds if your control, control panel. So,
That's all I have.
anybody else? I guess, anything from the audience? No? Joel, you're all set? You're up.
Already did it.
No, okay, second. All in favor?
Alright.
I'll reach out to you tomorrow.
you.
Not a problem.
That's good. I'll let you know what I give you.
Oh, okay.
Who are you?
Yeah. So
I was at Walter, last week, we were talking about this and stuff. And I said, you know, does he have? Well, I'm not recently, but, you know, waiting for TMB to.
So. Full disclosure, the Parker's in charge of the project. I said, Parker, I guess, the planning board meeting, Tom's gonna ask about that project. And so, what's the story? We still in the same situation? He says, yeah. Nothing's changed.
Oh, no, it was more curiosity than anything else, yeah.
He's chasing it.